Joining us on the line is Lila Rose. She's founder and president of Live Action. She, of course, is doing amazing work on behalf of the unborn and the preborn. She was recently on Dr. Phil, and her appearance went viral. The left, of course, declared it was terrible, and everybody who had a functional brain thought that she did a wonderful job. Lila, thanks for joining the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, Ben.
So first of all, let's talk about what it was like to walk into that. I've done Dr. Phil in unfriendly circumstances myself. It's always a party. You walked in and there was no one, it seems, on your side, no one in the audience, Dr. Phil himself, none of the guests. Literally, it was just you against the world on this one. So what did that feel like walking in?
I felt prepared because the pro-life position, our position, we have truth on our side and we have real compassion on our side. So it was a little, the moments before I was like, okay, well, how's this going to go? And also they have controlled edit. I mean, you know that, right? They're filming live to tape, but then they can edit it however they want. So you have to go into it being prepared. But listen, I think that they were not prepared for the truth. I mean, I think it's that simple. Dr. Phil was blindsided by scientific facts I shared, by the pro-life argument. And even though he was very pro-abortion in the way he handled the show, I don't think he was prepared for what we had for him. So
yeah, no, there were definitely some shocking moments. I mean, the fact that Dr. Phil actually said to you there was no scientific consensus about life beginning at conception. I mean, that was an amazing statement from a person whose literal show is called Dr. Phil. Like, I'm not aware that there is a single scientist anywhere who would claim that life does not begin at conception. They may then say that life is not worthy of matching up to various competing interests, or they may say that it's not a fully developed life, or they may make other excuses why abortion should still be allowed. But the very basic definition of life is not really under controversy, nor has it ever been.
Yeah, I mean, I think the true colors, again, of legacy media showed, Ben, because they just ignore the science when human life begins, when it's politically inconvenient for them to acknowledge it, because they have to be pro-abortion. The legacy media, the network television, daytime television, newspapers across the country, they are pro-abortion. I mean, they support Planned Parenthood. They are always opining about the right to choose. They refuse to acknowledge the humanity of the child, facts about human development, facts about abortion. So, I mean, the fact that Dr. Phil towed that line, it's actually not surprising because that's what they all do. I mean, it's very ignorant, but that's what they do. But what was, I think, especially surprising is that he doubled down on it, even when he was corrected. And I don't think it looked good. The average person watching is like, look, I took biology 101 and it told me when human life begins. I think everybody, we learned it in school together. So the fact that you're debating it now on your own television show seems odd.
Lila, the other thing that happened during your appearance, and this happens frequently in debates over abortion, is that you are told that you are supposed to defend the pro-life position on the most statistically fringe cases and the most emotionally difficult cases. Meanwhile, people on the left are never forced to defend their actual position, which is that abortion should be allowed up till point of birth for any reason whatsoever. Sex-selective abortion, completely healthy baby, none of that matters to the left. They're never forced to defend that position. You did an excellent job, I thought, of defending the pro-life position, despite the fact that it was pretty obviously a rigged game. I mean, when somebody in the audience is arguing over 14-year-olds being raped and then having to bear the child, which represents an extraordinarily vanishing percentage of actual abortions in this country. And what we're actually talking about is the million abortions in this country, the vast majority of which are just elective in nature. That's a difficult thing to do. I thought that you handled it really, really well.
Thanks. I mean, I think you're right, though. It's completely dishonest. And it is what the pro-abortion, the left side always does on this, is they trot out the most, horribly tragic, extremely rare cases to justify 100% of abortion on demand. Most abortions in this country statistically are done for convenience. They're not done for these extreme cases. But regardless, I think it's good for us to engage those extreme cases, because even in an extreme case, the baby is really sick. The baby was conceived in sexual violence. That baby is still a baby. And the whole idea of human rights is that they're universal and they apply to a human, even when that human is inconvenient or sick or disabled or has an abusive, family lineage. Their parent is a sexual abuser. That child still has the right to not be killed. And I said that on the show, and it was like, how horrible! How dare you say a baby has the right to not be killed? But I think we know deep down in our hearts, I think that the natural instinct is, yes, Children are innocent. And I think if we remind people enough of that, Ben, even in these hostile environments like Dr. Phil, like, kudos for you. You've done it, before too. I think that more people are going to open their eyes to the pro-life position.
Lila, the contrast between you answering a question that was directed at you from sort of, again, the most difficult emotional position and the failure of people on the left to actually defend their own positions, like their unwillingness. You pushed, for example, the head of the National Organization for Women on the abortion up until birth position, and she immediately dodged the question. She didn't say, like you said, listen, if a girl is raped, that doesn't change the fact that an innocent human life is at stake. You're willing to defend your position. You asked the head of NOW, you asked about the abortion until birth position, and she immediately dodged. She immediately pretended that wasn't her position.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Actually, the Dr. Phil edit team cut part of our exchange out. So we went back and forth several more times. And I asked her repeatedly, I said, the position of your organization, the National Organization for Women, it's so, ridiculous that they took that term women. And now she's saying pregnant persons. That was the other kind of funny thing on the show. But she's saying, pregnant persons have the right to abortion. And I said, well, your position is abortion through all 9 months for any reason. Do you stand by that? And she would just repeat almost robotically, women have a right to abortion. And I would say again, you are against every abortion restriction. And most Americans, they want abortion restrictions. They do. I mean, the polls show that Americans want at least some restrictions on abortion, the large majority. And she repeated again, we support abortion. So the reality is they don't want to engage with the actual argument. They want to try to control the rhetoric because that's the only way they win. Extreme cases, misleading rhetoric, euphemistic language. That's the only way they can win. The pro-abortion side can win. But when the pro-life side breaks through with facts about human development, facts about abortion, how violent it is, facts about the harm to women that abortion does, then we often, I think, persuade people and we win. So that's what, they cut part of it, but they had to leave part of it. And, it made her look dishonest because she didn't want to state what she really, her position really was.
Well, that's Lila Rose. Go check out all of her work at Live Action. She does a fabulous job over there. Lila, great appearance, and thanks for coming on the show. I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Ben Shapiro Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you stay up to date with all our future content.